And also this is the last chapter for our HCSA course, which is the monitoring and logging features. Just give you guys some additional information regarding the monitoring features and logging, and also some advanced configuration in the firewall. First of all, the monitoring. We can monitor all those objects through the firewall. User monitoring, application monitoring, cloud-based application, and user quota monitoring, URL hit count, link status monitoring, the QoS monitoring, as I mentioned before. We can monitor the QoS pipe traffic. Device monitoring, more or less for the device status monitoring. Keyword block, application block, and also the authenticated user monitoring, especially for the SSL user, SSL VPN user. So the user monitoring will help to display the statistics of the application usage during the specific period for the specific user This include the traffic and also the session information for the applications. And for the dedicated application monitoring, which will help to show you the statistics of the applications according to the application category, subcategory, the risk levels, technology that used by the application, and also the characteristics of the application during the specific period. You can select as real time, as 7 days, or as 1 month, etc. And cloud application monitoring will only monitor the cloud-based applications and also the user traffic during the period. User quota, if you enabled the user quota for the specific users, for example, if you select the daily quota and monthly quota, traffic quota for the specific user, we will also show you the quota usage, okay, based on the real-time traffic monitoring. As you can see here, this is the monitoring for the user quota. So we will show you the daily used data and also monthly used data, comparing with your quota. URL hit will show you the URL hit count based on the user's URL category and also the URL. The link configuration. If you want to monitor for the link status, you need to configure for the link detecting, including the detection IP, the protocol, and also the interval for the detections. After that, we are able to detect and display the status of the link, including the latency, the jitter, and also the data loss. The QoS monitoring I already mentioned before. After you configured for the root pipe and sub pipes for both layer 1 and layer 2, we will show you the traffic monitoring for the pipe, and also the application user or traffic information for the pipe. Device monitoring will show you the monitored status during the specific period for the total traffic, interface traffic, the CPU or memory statistics, and also the session statistics, hardware status, etc. So those are the whole device monitoring. Authenticated users, as I mentioned, is used to monitor the authenticated SSL VPN users. You are able to see how many users accessed through the SSL VPN client, and you can also manually kick it out. And log, we support all those types of the logs, including the event network configuration, the thread, sessions, etc. So those are the supported log. If we want to record the log in the device, first of all, you need to enable the log functions under the log tab. Here is the log severity. So the log will be classified in two different level. In event log, it will record for all those events like the protocol change. Network log will record all this network and interface changing. And configuration log, which will record all the configuration changes, which can help you to go back and check who changed the configuration during the time. The thread log will record all the detected events by those security detecting engines, including AV, IPS, etc. AV, IPS attack defense, IP reputation, etc. And session log will record all the session tables, all the session logs that you need to enable the session log under the policy as well. And then we are able to display the session information and also the session start, session end, and which policy had been matched for this connection. So that is the session log. PBR log is used for policy-based routing. If you set the PBR to route the specific service or traffic through the policy, so we will record as a PBR log, which will show you which kind of protocol or applications had been routed to a dedicated destination. And that log, definitely it will record the net log for both SNET and DNET. It will show you the IP before the translation and after the translation. URL log, as I mentioned before, it will record all the URL visit history. And for the storage and all for the log hosting, we have those options to send the log or to host the log. You can send the log through console interface, but we do not recommend to send out large amount of the logs to the console because of the limitation of the console capacity. More or less, console only be used to receive, so for some debugging log. And memory buffer, some of the log for the device, if the device do not have internal storage, we may save the log at the memory buffer, at the flash. But in this case, the log may be refreshed in a quite limited time period. And file, you can send the log through the file by email, or if the customer have their own syslog server, you can send the logs to the syslog server and store the log for more than 6 months or even longer time for log auditing purpose. And email address, I already mentioned before. The last one will be the local database. If the firewall comes with local storage, you can send the log to local storage and store the log. Some advanced configuration for the log. One is the log server. So you can add the log server that used to receive the logs, or you can send the log to email to email. Here's the way how to configure for the syslog server. So the hostname here is the IP address of the log server, and the default transit port or protocol is the UDP with the port 514, the default port. You can select which type of logs you want to send. You want to send to the syslog server. And you can also configure for the mail server at the firewall. Okay, first of all, you need to set a mail server at the firewall, and then you are able to send the log through the email to the specific person who will need to receive the log by email. And we also support to change this facility name if the device have some local storage. Also, some operation highlights for easily manage the logs to different log servers. So we will provide the visibility that to send the log to multiple syslog servers. You can also config for each of the syslog server by sending different logs, by sending default logs separately. And we also support to export the log, to the FTP server. And log, for some of the log, we also support the log analysis features. For example, like the session log, we will provide the closed reason for some of the sessions, which will help you to do some basic troubleshooting for the sessions. And also, as I mentioned, the such as the configuration log, which can help to track the management behaviors of the administrator if something wrong with the configurations. Some questions in this chapter: how many logs can be supported? As I mentioned, we support event log, network log, thread log, PBR log, etc. What are the contents stored by each of the log? For different log, it will contain different contents. Okay. What types of the output destination we support? So we support to send log to local storage, to email address, to external syslog server, to FTP server, etc. Or to console port, or into local flash. What type of the statistics tests we support? So for the statistics, basically we support the statistics for these users, applications, sessions, and also these including all these statistics for monitoring purpose. How can we find the root cause for disconnection of the session log? So we have the close reason for the session log, like timeout or other reason, to help you to understand the root cause of the disconnection of the sessions.